I want to talk a little bit about auditions and audition processes. We live in a
Mhm.
world now where auditions have changed now that they're all
Mm.
self-tapes for the most part, at
Yeah.
least in first auditions. And then we've got Zoom callbacks, and maybe there's some stuff happening in the room now. But Brandon can attest to this too, is when you come into the studio here at Actors Audition Club, I think you're one of the most well-prepared. You're always like a half an hour early, to the point where Brandon knows that he, like, in his head, he's attempting to beat you here to the studio, but also very relaxed and like in the zone. You arrive in the zone, but also very relaxed, very well prepared. And I think that's something that's a little different. The luxury of self tapes is you have often more time. So I think a lot of actors will use the self tape session as a little bit of rehearsal period and iron out the kinks. And then eventually by the end of the session, get a usable take that they want to send off.
Mhm.
Whereas you're really the opposite. Like you seem to treat it like it's the olden days where you walk in and you got one takes, two takes, and you're out, goodbye, and you're really in the room
Yeah.
for just 5 minutes. So can you talk a little bit about, and I know it varies from audition to audition and how much time you have, but can you talk about your overall process from the time your agent sends you an audition to the time you're here at the studio to tape it? Just walk us through your process, what you're doing at home in your own time.
Sure. Well, thank you for those kind words. And before I even get into that, I'm just going to say how, because I do come from a time when it was always in the room, and there's something magical about the excitement and the anticipation of going somewhere, and also there's something to me sacred about a designated audition space, a workspace. Even though we don't have the luxury when we're on a set, it's all there for us, right? If you're in a dining hall, you're in a dining hall, you're whatever. So you have all of that that helps feed your imagination. The challenge that I find taping at home, and I'm blessed with excellent readers at home. My kids help, my wife help. They're all very talented, but it's for me. It felt like I'm still in my house, and it's still like all the baggage of your day to day is there with you, and it didn't feel special. Like I could do it, and could do good work, and but there's my bed to the side, or there's my couch, there's my, whatever it is. There was nothing that it wasn't creating a sacred space around creation and a place to just be a professional actor working, be an actor sharing your work, doing your craft. So I really appreciate when I sort of revisited you guys last year, because I was just not feeling it at home. Like I just wasn't, it just didn't feel special. I didn't feel excited. And I know that, I've worked with both of you guys, and when I'm getting ready to come and either drive to you guys, or now I'm closer walk to you guys, like I get excited the way it used to be with an audition, because you're with people that care, that are excited about it. The time is carved out. You're not just fitting it in between something else in your life. Like you're giving it importance. And I think just telling, for your own sake, you're realizing this is something important that I'm doing. I'm a professional actor. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to share that, my choices, my approach to this character, with people that may or may not hire me. But I feel like a professional actor. And so much of COVID and not being in a room with the guys, it really hurts. We had this community, right? Like, and you guys know there's a community of actors, and you see each other in the room, and you touch base, and he's doing this, and she's doing that, and they're doing that, and it's you felt like you were part of something. You felt like you were part of a profession. You felt like you were part of an industry. And I understand the utility of and the necessity of the Zoom audition, but to me, it just missing that sense of like that electricity of this is the moment. Like this is a moment. And when I come to you guys, I'm preparing it like it was the old days, where I'm getting in the room. I love sitting in that waiting room for a second, and then just we go in and we're there to work, and it's not, I'm not gonna like tiptoe around it and try to find my way. Like I come in ready to go. So I get an audition, beep comes in. I will read a little bit the character breakdown, just so that it's somewhere in the back of my mind. I'll start going over the script and start like hunting for similarities, thing like just like what does this mean to me personally, and what parallels do I have in my life, like what am I going to use, like what tools do I need, what experiences do I need to draw on sometimes something's written so charismatically that you just like it just so you just memorize, learn your lines, and which I always have to do. Some actors, and I've seen be great, they've got the paper in front of them, and they're just, and they're great, they're relaxed, they're easy. I don't, I feel anxious, like part of me still needs to do a like good job, like, you know, and I don't have enough give zero F's that I feel like I can just have that paper in hand. Some do, and some are great with it. I like to know the words forward and backward to be really have them in. I have no idea how it's going to come out on the day in the moment, um, because I'm really I love to play off somebody. I love to see what you're giving me, what Brandon's giving me, and just play like really connect with the person. Let that be, if you're really trying to affect them, if you're really trying to have this thing happen, then I think it's important for me to be able to be focused on you, not on me trying to get lines right or me trying to remember lines. Like that's not what it's about. I always like to do an emotional prep, particularly if it's something that's a scene that's gonna call for like a heightened emotion in one way or the other. I'll start in the morning. So I'll learn the lines the night before. Like I'll really commit to having that. If I have it early enough, I love to go for a walk with my dogs and just be running it, just running it. But the day, and then I don't sleep very well the night before, which is always exciting. And then I wake up really early, and it's in my head, like it's starting to be in my head. And then if it's a scene that's gonna, again, is gonna demand some emotion from me, or something that I want to just sort of start to tenderize the meat in the morning, I'll listen to music that I know is going to sort of start to strip away at me a little bit. I'll start to just sort of play with memories, looking back at pictures of my kids when they were little. I just get myself in a place where I'm warm, where I'm emotionally warm, and where I know that then the writing and the other actors is going to be able to affect me. I think we walk around with so much armor and baggage in our day-to-day life that it's important to strip that away, to relax, to be present, to spend time breathing, to just do all of the, get rid of any excess energy that maybe I like to go for a run. I love to go to the gym first, to just get all of that like nervous energy discharge. And what's left is that useful energy, that useful emotion. It's not going to be, a lot of times as actors, what like we feel that we're doing something, but it's just like, that's just a lot of nervous energy going through our body, and we're not connected to the thoughts. We're not connected to the scene. We're just feeling something, and it feels good to feel something. But I like to get rid of like that first layer of whatever that is, and then just get to what I need for the scene. And then now when I'm at home, if I'm not able to come in for whatever reason, I like to carve out a point in the day, and I let whoever is going to be my reader here know we're taping from this to this, and if you need breakfast or whatever, please do it beforehand. And I was not great about that during COVID, where it would be sort of whoever was going to read was like, can I please, can I get 5 minutes? And you're waiting there. We've got a piece of toast in their mouth, and they come up, and it's not, they're doing you a favor as opposed to someone who wants to be doing this with you. So and then I roll up to you guys, and we check the lighting, and I don't like to rehearse. I want to shoot it. I often find that the first take and the last take are always the ones that we end up with, one of those two. And I come prepared. I really appreciate on your guys' end how prepared you guys are. You obviously, you're fine actors in your own right as professionals, beyond the service you guys provide, and it shows, and it matters, because there are some actors, I've heard Michael Caine talk about, it doesn't matter, you can put a tennis ball on him thing and he's going to be fine. Like, he doesn't need you. I need you. Like, I really, really need the reader, because it really is for me about like finding some little moment between us, whatever that is. And it could be a very, like, I could be threatening, it could be anything, the scene, but it's just, I need that little, like that energy happening back and forth. Otherwise I feel like I'm not really doing anything. So
Right.
that's And we're pros. Like it matters. Like we can be dilettantes. Like you can not take it seriously, but I don't know what other important thing in your life you wouldn't take seriously. And I know a lot of actors, and again, whatever gets you there. Like if you can piss it off and show up and not know, and put your gum out of your mouth or whatever and pick it up, and for some reason just poof, magic happens, good for you. Like I treat this like it's something that I care about and that I want to give all that I can give in that moment, even with only a day's notice. And it's not going to be the same as if you've been playing the character for a week or a month or a year. But like I want to bring enough of myself authentically to that moment that they're going to have something to decide on. And I mean, as an actor, you're going to be not right for the part way more often than you are right for the part. But as long as I feel like, okay, I came and I did my work, and that I was present, and that I was daring, and that I was available, and I let whatever happen in that room after, preparing, not planning, then, you gotta just let it go. Easier said than done. You gotta do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the fact that you make it something special and you make it a ritual. We often talk, not only here at Actors Audition Club, but also with one of our coaches, Tom Todoroff. We talk about the importance of a checklist and just going into a plan and a checklist and using a system like a pilot does when they're about to take off, or like a surgeon does, where it's or like an athlete does, where it really is, okay, it's go time and I'm a professional and these are the things that I do to get myself ready, and then it's showtime and we record. So I love that you do that, and we have a really unique perspective because we get to see all kinds of actors, all kinds of experience levels, who, like you say, everyone has their own process, but we do occasionally see someone that, like, we'll see someone who just got the audition last minute. They haven't really prepped it. They walk in and really they're using the hour to learn the lines and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse till they finally get a take that's usable at the end. But that's very different than coming in and being ready to rock. And the other thing that you mentioned too is a lot of actors will just use the reader and they're listening to the reader, but they're just picking an eye line next to the camera, or an eye line, a mark off camera, versus making eye contact and engaging with the reader like a real human being. And you're one of the people who specifically asked for that in the room, and a lot of people don't care. So it's really interesting that you do that.
Yeah, and I think that's just a matter of. I think a lot of it is how you work. And I've seen very fine actors that don't need or want anybody. Like when I'm on set, I'm a huge proponent of what the performance I'm going to give on this side of the camera. When I'm your off-camera reader, I'm going to that place every single time. And if that's to me part of the job. And I know some actors that are like, well, no, just save it. Like I don't, and I'm like, oh, well, no, but thank you for that anyway. But so it's interesting. Like it's because it's so personal, because it's really us at the end of the day. Like I don't, who am I to say what works for me works for somebody else, or what works for them would work for me? I don't know, but I just know for myself, and what I've tried to impart in my kids is this sense of honest communication and vulnerability, and not self-indulgence with it, but you really have to try to create that experience for yourself that the character is experiencing, like for real, and the audience feels that. Like, I mean, we might be delighted by being tricked or manipulated or whatever, but I think that when you feel that, sometimes you're in the theater and it's like, oh, are you watching TV? You just know, and it doesn't have to be just sad stuff. I mean, it can be whatever it is. You just know that that's for real. Like that actor's intention is for real. And it's thrilling because we rarely get to watch those great moments or those intense moments unfiltered and shared with another person.
Yeah,
Right.
because I always find it's the improv moments in film that we always keep talking about, like the Heath Ledger moment in The Dark Knight, where he's tapping the explode button and it didn't go off, and he's hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and then it finally does, and it startles him.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
And, like,
for
it's
sure.
such an authentic moment. It's such a beautiful thing, and like that doesn't happen unless like those series of events happen in that order. And that's what's so beautiful, is that we get to create that type of thing with someone else and with a team. And like that's what I always gravitate towards.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing about being present and being like open to whatever happens in the room, is to be able to play with that and off of that, because it is real. Whereas I would think that if you prepared what you want to do and how it's going to go, you don't leave room for those magical accidents where just, you'll do something or Lars will do something and your subconscious just has a thing and a reaction and a whatever. And it just, you come alive in a way that's beyond being like a good actor. And there's like something just organically and dynamically human and accidental, which is thrilling to watch, because
Mhm.
no matter how skilled you are and how committed and how honest you are as an actor, you're still acting, except in those moments when you let yourself be surprised. And those are gold, man. Like that give me a broken take every time, an
Mhm.
accidental just grace note that pops in when shit goes sideways, but you're open with it and you ride. It's kind of exciting.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. We always talk about that happy accidents where
Yes.
Mhm.
a prop is dropped or somebody knocks over a lamp off a table, and the difference between an actor who ignores it versus the actor who uses it, and then all of a sudden the scene comes alive because you're like, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah.
That
Well,
actually
yeah.
just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. To stay with it and not be like, this is not what I thought would happen or not what I expected or not what I planned, but just like, this is like to be in the now as a human
Right.
being. It's a great to be present is a difficult, and it's a great quality. We like that. The people we like most are the ones that are present with us and just there. And as an actor, that's what you're always striving for, is to just be present with that
Mhm.
other person, and everything else. There could be hundreds of people on the crew and cameras and whatever, but when they're ready to go, it's you and another person sharing sometimes the most intimate moments of your life, vulnerable moments of your life. And if you can just be present with that, it's a hell of a gift.
Right. Brandon, I know that you've worked a lot in the room with Greg. Anything else you want to bring up or share? Anything coming up for you as far as your experience?
Greg touched on it. I love connecting with you in the scene, and like it really helps me bring it off the page as quickly as possible, and make sure that I'm getting to a faster point at absorbing the words and really listening to what you're saying. And I always look forward to you coming in, because I'm like, one, you show up very very early, and and I'm always fighting to beat you here, which is like an added bonus for like coming here, which is always really fun. It's always a race to see who
Who
gets
gets
here
first?
first.
I'm
And
just
I
excited. Like I love it. Like I can't wait to get after it sometimes. Like some
Mhm.
auditions, you just can't. It's like a kid. Like you just can't wait to get after it and to
Yeah.
Right.
play. Like that's the other thing. Like we sort of have been serious about the technique and the process and all of those things, but there's also a wonderful sense of play, a
Mhm.
Right.
wonderful joy in creating even sad or difficult or painful scenes. There's still this wonderful joy in not being yourself for a minute, or not living in the circumstances of your life for just a second. There's this escape away from it and escape towards, and it's just something thrilling to this day. Like I feel, again, I've done over 100 movies and TV shows and video games now, and I still get butterflies every single time I make that walk from a trailer to a set. Every take, it is just, you walk in and it's dark, and it's like this. It's like Disney World or something. There's just this magic, sacred place that anything can happen.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I always look at it like a hole or like a tunnel that I'm going through, and then you're stepping over the threshold and going through, and then going out on stage, and you're right. It's the most magical feeling in the world.
So addicting too. Like
Yeah.
this is why we put up with all the other nonsense around it, and ups and downs and career highs and lows, and all of that stuff. But there's just something so thrilling about that, and it doesn't have to be a huge production with, you know, all the big trailers and all that stuff. It can be a little independent film or a little space, little stage somewhere where you just get to do what you love to do. And God, we're lucky to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a bit like golf that way. You can
Yeah.
all the ups and downs, all the shanks and missed
Yeah.
shots, but then you get a hold of that one drive or that one iron, or you sink that long putt where you're like actually dialed in and you're like, oh, I'm going to come back and play again next week because this is beautiful.
Well, thank God I'm a better actor than golfer because my family would have starved to death long ago.
What was I going to say too? Just mentioning Brandon. Brandon always wanted to beat you here to the studio. One time I was taking Luna, my dog, out for a walk, and there's a little parkette out here, and I was on the far side of it, and I clocked you walking, and I text Brandon, and I was like, "Greg's on the way. Where are you? You're gonna beat him. Gonna beat him to the studio."
Well, from now on, I'm going to cut it a little bit closer, but not too close, because I like. The thing is, and again, we've talked about this, even though it's not a room full of other people competing for that role. I love sitting in that waiting room. And you've got, like, your setup is, you've got those books that are all interesting to me. And it just feels, we spend so much time as actors in our own houses and in our own heads. And when you get those opportunities to be in the spaces that are acting spaces, that are designated just for creation, that are, you know, it's nice for me. So I enjoy sitting in that waiting room beforehand, in the same way that, because it's a sense memory for me. Like, I remember that this is where we come to do work and to see each other and to compete against each other, but also to support each other. And that is something that is missing. And I to be perfectly honest, I do hope, at least for callbacks and stuff like that, that we get back to a place where that happens. Because as much as a self-tape, I think, is a very useful tool, it's not the best way of us sharing our work. Because, as you said, like, you could come in for an hour, you could do 50 takes and you get one good one, right? Being coached within into your life, and then that's what you get, and then that's what they're going to get on set. Whereas if you get a person in the room, you see who they are, you get a sense of what they are as an actor, but you also get a sense of who they are as a person. You can get a sense of them. And I do think that is important in this business, because of the nature of this is a communion business. This is a human sharing humanity with each other business. And I do hope that, again, as we get sort of further and further away and people settle, and I want to say normalcy sort of returns, that at least into the callback situation, we'll get to be in rooms with each other again. And either that, or I'm just going to start inviting, like, the guys to show up when I'm auditioning. You'll get like 5 or 6 Myers and Alan Van Sprang and Peter Outerbridge and all the guys. We'll just, Sean Benson. We'll just all be sitting around and show up for each other, just to make it more nerve-wracking.
All the usual suspects. They'd be like, oh, that guy again. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, you spend a lifetime. I've been in Toronto since we left New York. I've been in Toronto for 23 years, and it's the same faces you came up as boys, and people's careers would be higher or lower, and they would, they'd be married or divorced and kids and like all of that. And even though we were competitors, we were all fighting for the same jobs. We were in it together. Right. And you just had a sense of knowing each other, which is special. And I do appreciate you guys in your way have created an approximation of that. And I do appreciate having a space to come and work with people that care about acting and are talented and have a passion for it, really.